Now, KEZI 9 News presents the Friday Night Blitz Preseason Special.
Welcome to the Friday Night Blitz High School Football Preseason Special. I'm Jake Sivan alongside Eric Elkin. Over the next half hour, we're going to take a trip around Western Oregon, previewing the upcoming season. We've got some pretty cool features for you as well.
We'll reveal our Friday Night Blitz Game of the Week live broadcast schedule, tell you how the Ducks are changing high school football in the area, and a fascinating look inside the mind of an elite coach.
And we'll start with 6A, the Southwest Conference. Last year's standings, a very symmetrical table, no ties anywhere to be found. The league won once again by Sheldon.
South Medford finished second ahead of Roseburg, but the Indians got revenge in the playoffs, blowing out the Panthers to make it to the state quarterfinals. Thurston was the only other team in the conference to win a playoff game. They beat Aloha in the first round.
Sheldon made it all the way to the state title game, and to try to get back there, they're going to lean heavily on one very special athlete. As Stephen Nelson tells us, Connor Strahm is arguably the best player on either side of the ball in our area.
Over the years, Sheldon High School has had its fair share of good football players, but some say Connor Strahm could be the best yet.
We've had really good wide receivers, we've had really good running backs, we've had really good quarterbacks. We haven't had anybody like him that can do it all.
He's a very smart player. He knows where to get open, where to be on defense, and he's just always in the right place at the right time.
He's all right. I mean, I've played with him since we were little kids, so I know all those little tricks. I don't know how people can't tackle him. I feel if I went one-on-one with him, I could tackle him.
Opponents couldn't tackle Strahm in 2011. He had 26 touchdowns and more than 1,600 total yards of offense, and on defense, he had 7 interceptions. Which side of the ball will he play on after high school?
Right now, I have 2 options as a receiver and 1 on defense. Ideally, I would be a defensive player.
And after the loss to Lake Oswego in the state title game, defense is where Strahm wants to improve.
My tackling could get better, definitely. There's 2 plays that I remember in the state championship game that missed a couple tackles. Definitely would have changed the game if I could have made those.
Strahm has the athletic pedigree. His mother, Kim, was a softball star at Oregon and is going into the Duck Hall of Fame with the likes of Phil Knight and Joey Harrington. His father was a wrestler for the Ducks, and his younger brother, Kellen, is a sophomore on the football team. Sounds like a competitive household.
Yes, very. Growing up, just the basketball games out in the cul-de-sac or going to hit balls, it's always been a competition. I think that's really helped me and my brother.
Strahm hopes he can help Sheldon get back to the state title game. Head coach Lane Johnson is okay with that, but does have one issue with his star player.
The only thing I have an issue with right now is his hair. It's a little long, but other than that, we'll keep him around for 1 more year.
A question Strahm will have to answer at some point this season is where will he play football next? As of right now, he has 3 collegiate offers: Montana, Portland State, and North Dakota. But I asked him what would be his dream school, and he said, "I've been a Duck my whole life, but I've also become more realistic. I don't run a 4.2. Reporting from Sheldon High School in Eugene, Stephen Nelson, KEZI 9 Sports.
Thanks a lot, Stephen. Strahm might be the most entertaining individual to watch in the Southwest Conference, but the most entertaining team, Eric, no doubt, the Thurston Colts.
Yeah, Jake, and kind of like a certain college team around here, they like to push the envelope, but this year they're being limited by the rules. During their run to the second round of the playoffs last season, one of the Thurston signatures was the onside kick. They rarely booted the ball deep, instead trying to get the ball back with a successful onside kick. More often than not, it worked. Thurston's strategy was to send a wall of players into the receiving team, wiping them out before they had a chance to catch the ball. But the rules changed this year. You can no longer hit an opposing player until the ball has gone 10 yards. Thurston's strategy is now moot.
It was just fun. It was really fun. We felt it was a valuable weapon and tool, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't.
We think it's because of us last year. We used to kick it, and it's supposed to have to go, we could hit people before 10 yards, so we take out the first defenders and we just recover the ball. But since we were doing that and we were covering a good amount of onside kicks, we think that they put that rule in to stop us this year, so now we're going to have to switch things up a little bit.
It has been a struggle for South Eugene the past few years. The Southwest Conference's coaches don't expect that to change. They picked the Axemen to finish last this season. The good news, they bring back a good amount of experience, including starting quarterback Braden Emmerich.
Getting back to Sheldon, it's been a difficult summer for the family behind the current Irish dynasty. Former Sheldon quarterback Jordan Johnson, who most recently was the starter at Montana, is on trial in Missoula charged with rape. Johnson's uncle Lane is Sheldon's head coach. His dad Marty is their offensive coordinator and was the head coach until handing over the reins to Lane 2 seasons ago. Jordan Johnson had been accused of rape since the spring, but not charged until July 31st. We spoke with Sheldon head coach Lane Johnson about the effect that the situation has had on himself, on his brother, and on the Sheldon program.
It's tough, you know, the whole Jordy situation. Anybody that knows Jordy knows what a great kid he is. I'm sorry. They feel for Marty and Jordy, you know, it's a tough deal. I truly believe in my heart that everything's going to work out okay, but I would obviously be lying to you if it wasn't weighing on our family. You know, Marty and Kelly, Jordy's mom, have done a great job of trying to stay true to their colors and being supportive of their son, but, you know, he's been thrown into a situation where, in my opinion, he's getting the raw end of the deal, and I believe the truth is going to come out.
Prosecutors claim that Johnson forced himself on a female acquaintance after a night of drinking in February. Johnson has acknowledged having sex with the woman, but says it was consensual. The trial is currently in its very early stages. Coming up, it's one thing to watch a football game and think you know what's going on, but do you really know why one play gained 8 yards and the other 2?
We'll head to the film room to show you how coaches break down the game, but first, here's the first look at the 6A portion of our Friday Night Blitz Game of the Week schedule. You can watch all of these games live on KEZI 9+.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Blitz preseason special on KEZI 9 News.
Welcome back. I'm Jake Sivan alongside Eric Elkin. We just broke down Class 6A. Now it's time to shift the focus to 5A.
And for the past 2 years, there's been one team that's been the class of that class in our area. Last season, the Midwestern League was Marist and everybody else.
The Spartans went undefeated. Their closest game in conference was a 49-19 win over Churchill. 30 points was the closest that anyone in the league got to Marist last year. And there's little reason to think that the Spartans can't do that again. Marist made it to the state semis last season before losing to eventual state champ Mountain View. And they bring back one of the best QB wide receiver combos in the state at any level. Cameron Smith throws, Austin Baird catches. Usually, it's a touchdown. Smith was the All-Midwestern League's first-team quarterback. Baird was the league's defensive and overall MVP. We'll have more from the Spartans in a little bit when we head into the film room with Marist head coach Frank Geske.
Jake, if there's a team that can compete with Marist this year, it might be Churchill. The Lancers return almost their entire team from last year, giving them a ton of experience. But all eyes will be on the senior quarterback, Mitch Reese. He told us he's gotten interest so far from Cal and Oregon State, and a good senior year can really help his case. But for now, Reese's focus is on leading the Lancers.
Last year, I knew he was a really good athlete and could throw the ball. We've watched him all the time, but, you know, first year. This year, I don't have that apprehension of what to expect when he gets in the ball game.
He can throw the ball amazing. I mean, he can throw it 60 yards down the field. I mean, post, deep routes.
I would say this year I'm less scared. I'm just focused on one receiver. This year I can actually read the field, worked on my speed, so I'll be able to pull the ball more often, not have them just focus on our running back all the time.
Willamette's season started great last year. 5-1 after 6 weeks, ranked in the top 10. But then the Wolverines collapsed, losing their final 3 games by a combined score of 203-23. Granted, they were playing top teams, but still 3 60-point blowouts in a row aren't the way you want to head into the offseason. So now Willamette is trying to forget the past and move on.
No, quite honestly, we talk about no memory there. Well, we're using that as a teaching tool about how we got to stay tough and mentally prepared all through the season. We can't ride on the early successes.
Yeah, I bring that up a lot, talking about the losses that we've had, and it just seems to make everyone that much more intense and that much more hungry to go out and work hard and push the tempo and, bash their heads in.
Sounds like at the very least this year Willamette will be physical. After going 3-6 last season, Springfield needed to make some changes. The Millers started at the top. Former Marist defensive coordinator David Heiberger took over as Springfield's head coach. He'll try to build the Millers into a playoff team, something they haven't been since 1996. North Eugene is in an even longer drought. The Highlanders haven't made the state playoffs since 1993. North was winless last year and hasn't won a Midwestern League game since beating Churchill in the final game of the 2009 season.
In our trips around the various high schools in the area this August, Eric, I think something has stood out to both of us. Lots of teams trying to play fast, to emulate the Ducks, to emulate the Blur offense. Thurston is the most well-known for doing that. They've been doing it since 2008. Actually got the idea independently of the Ducks. They want everybody to know that.
Sure,
but
definitely.
now Thurston isn't the only local team that responds like this when asked to describe their team's style of play.
Like Oregon, pretty much just that fast pace, try to get plays off really quickly and tire out their defense. So
it's nice to look up to those guys and really compare yourself to them. Like, how am I doing? What is he doing that I can do?
And they're all over. Almost everybody does a little piece of what they do. And I wouldn't think it was just in the state of Oregon or in Eugene area.
And the neatest thing is the officials in Lane County, when they see the Ducks doing all this stuff, they understand that it's okay to play football fast. And they're now allowing the high school game to be played at a faster rate because initially they didn't want the pace of play to be as quick as it was.
If the trend of imitating the local college team is also going on up in the Corvallis area, then expect to see lots of teams with tall, lanky quarterbacks in pro-style systems. And speaking of Sean Mannion, his dad will lead Silverton for the third straight year in one of the more competitive conferences in the state. West Albany took the title last season and made it all the way to the state semifinals. Silverton, Lebanon, and Corvallis all also made the playoffs last year. After the break, we head into the film room with Marist head coach Frank Geske. He shows us how the coaches break down tape.
But now a first look at the 5A portion of our Friday Night Blitz Game of the Week schedule. You can watch all of these games live on KEZI 9+.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Blitz preseason special on KEZI 9 News.
Thanks for sticking around on the Friday Night Blitz preseason special. Jake Siven alongside Eric Elkin. There's no question the coaches see the game differently than the general fan.
And they watch the tape of each game over and over again. So we decided to get a sneak peek of what it's like to break down game film with Marist head coach Frank Geske.
So now we're in the film room and we'll look at your two most recent games, game against Wilsonville and the game against Mountain View. Let's start with a couple of run plays in the Wilsonville game.
Wilsonville's on offense here. We're on defense. This is a toss play that they run 15 to 20 times a game with Shipley or Walsh. Basically, we're in a 5-3 defense, and what happens is they run a toss left, and ultimately our outside backer to that point pins the kick-out blocks, and it results in a 5-yard gain with a little bit of pursuit. Going back to that play, what I mean is this young gentleman right here, the outside linebacker, he fits over the top, but because he takes the 2 blocks on, basically taking the kick on it and forcing it inside, it allows everybody to pursue.
And so that's what you meant by earlier about pinning it?
Exactly.
Basically, he's able to take up 2 blocks, just 1 man.
Exactly. But as you can see, it makes it easy when a running back gets strung along, his feet get stalled, he's unsure. He's playing for Baylor now, but it's no different than U of O not liking C-Strong because his feet were going pop, 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 instead of taking 2 steps to the line of scrimmage.
And the longer it gets strung out and he has to wait, the more pursuit you have from the backside.
And that's the key to defensive football. And here you have the exact same thing. I'll just let it run, but a toss to the short side. Same thing, the defensive end does a great job of maintaining leverage to the outside, and a good aggressive corner comes up.
And so those are 2 run plays in the Wilsonville game that your defense executed well.
Exactly.
You got a similar play in the Mountain View game, which your defense didn't execute as well.
Here's the exact same deal. They're still running a toss play, different formation, but same exact blocking scheme. So this time he goes underneath. He not only goes underneath the crack, he goes underneath the fullback and the guard. That makes it too hard.
Run was right by the running back, too.
Exactly. Exactly. And I don't care how good you are for the rest of the guys, now they get to wall this off. Now they get to wall it off. All these extra blockers can wall this off.
So right now where you've got it frozen, this play alone is made just right on that edge block right there.
Exactly.
Because that strong safety is sucked into the
underneath,
middle and underneath. Now you've got 2 lead blockers coming in to the outside.
Exactly.
With the running back right behind him.
And even if this was someone that was a linebacker in disguise, he's still got a couple free blockers at him.
Yeah.
It's too much to ask for a kid that has to defend the pass to come up and knock the heck out of a fullback and a guard and make the tackle on a good running back.
All right, so you have, those are some of the run plays, both offensively and defensively. You have some pass plays as well that we can take a look at.
Basically, we're going to go long and going to go short. Okay. This one just happens to be out of trips. We have 2 deep routes and a flat route.
So right there, that looks like a good play, good gain, but it wasn't what you originally wanted at the start of this play.
Well, no, it's not. This side showing man, this side showing zone. It's cover 2. There's 2 safeties you can't see back here. They put a little pressure on. They're trying to wall it off, inside, outside. Basically what happens is we want him to go deep to the outside, him to run up the hash mark. The first thing that happens off this is the wide receiver goes inside up the hash. Well, that's the landmark for the slot receiver. So you got 2 people in the same area.
Right there, you got 2 people.
2 people in the same area. That play should not work.
And so even out of that trips formation, even though you had the 2 deep routes, and that's where you wanted to go originally to play, you still have that inside slot receiver who's kind of fanning out flat and gives you a safety valve to still have a positive result on a play that
exactly.
All right, Coach Geske, thanks for giving us a sneak peek into your film room and breaking down some game film for us.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank you.
So interesting to see that perspective. I imagine you probably learned a lot sitting with Coach Geske.
Yeah, definitely. And again, a lot of those plays weren't 75-yard touchdown plays. They were the difference between a 2-yard run and an 8-yard run. So it's a big difference.
Absolutely.
Big difference. All right, coming up next, Jeff Hendricks booted Santiam Christian to a 3A state title last season. He's gone, but the Eagles will try to repeat. A look at 4A and 3A coming up next.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Blitz preseason special on KEZI 9 News.
Jake Sivan alongside Eric Elkin, the Friday Night Blitz preseason special. We've gone around 6A, we've gone around 5A, we went into the film room with Marist head coach Frank Geske. Now it's time to look to the smaller schools.
We'll start in 4A. Elmira ran through the Sky-Am last year, winning by an average of 37.2 points per game. But their season came to an end in the state semifinals, losing to eventual champion LaSalle. It was really a 2-team league last year. Cottage Grove and Junction City will look to rebound and get back in the mix this year.
In Florence, they're hoping for a repeat season from Siuslaw, who lost to LaSalle Prep in an absolute shootout in the state title game. LaSalle Prep also ended North Bend and, like we said, Elmira's seasons last year.
There was no game more thrilling than the 3A state title last year. Santiam Christian winning the title in the most dramatic way possible. A last-second field goal, and it was no chip shot either. A 47-yarder. But the guy who made it, Jeff Hendricks, is now at Oregon State playing baseball. The Eagles will have to reload, something that they have been able to do time and time again. Santiam went undefeated through the Pac-West last season, which saw the Eagles and Pleasant Hill at the top, something that's been common in the past few years. Cresswell is also coming off a playoff appearance.
And speaking of Pleasant Hill and Cresswell, when the Billies take the field for their home opener against the Bulldogs on September 7th, it'll be unfamiliar territory. Literally, gone will be the old grass field that you see here that would get so torn up by the end of the season. And in its place, a brand new synthetic turf field for the Billies to play on. You'll get a chance to see Pleasant Hill play an entire game on that field, all without leaving your house. We'll be out there on Thursday, October 11th for a special Thursday night edition of the Friday Night Blitz Game of the Week. It'll be live on KEZI 9+. Pleasant Hill is one of the few teams in the state welcoming a new school to its conference as part of some minor realignment across Oregon. Saya moving up from 2A to 3A. They'll be in the Pac West. Here are all of the changes this year. A new school in Redmond. Ridgeview will play in 4A. Redmond itself dropped down from 6A to 5A because of the lower enrollment caused by the opening of that new school. Like I said, Saya will move up. The Loggers have won 2 of the last 3 2A state championships. Myrtle Point and Waldport are moving down from 3A to 2A. Crow and Youngkala will be playing 8-man ball this year. They move from 2A to 1A. And that's it for us. Be sure to tune into the Friday Night Blitz. We'll be here every Friday night at 11:15 on KEZI for a rundown of all the games that night. And also, as we've been talking about, the Friday Night Blitz Game of the Week is back. A live high school game every Friday night during the season on KEZI 9+. For Eric Elkin, I'm Jake Zivin. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with one more look at our Friday Night Blitz Game of the Week schedule. Good night.